The M4 MacBook Pro is such a good laptop that I think I can comfortably say that most of you probably don't need to go for the Pro or the Max. You'll be fine with this base model right here. And I think the words base model kind of have some stigma attached to them, and in a negative light, unfortunately. And it's especially true for those who think a professional laptop with beefed up specs is all that they need to get their work done, and that the base model wouldn't be good for you. Now, for me, on a full-time basis, yeah, I might agree with that. I think I might need something a little bit more in the long run. Nothing crazy, but as part of my laptop, which is something that I use a few times a week for admin work, scripting and research, editing photos for some friends on the side, or when I travel for work and need to get some content done, then it becomes a full-time machine. But the M4 MacBook Pro is absolutely capable of handling everything just fine with no issues from a performance standpoint. I would also argue that if you're someone who likes to travel around with their laptop, working from various locations, or even outside, the Nano-texture display is kind of a must. Now, in my M4 iMac video, if you just saw that, I did mention that the Nano-texture coating, I was kind of on the fence about it, a little bit unsure. I loved how great it was at minimizing reflections. I mean, I don't think that's anything that I need to hide, but I felt like it was reducing the sharpness and the clarity a bit too much for my liking. Now, the MacBook Pro with Nano-texture looks a little bit different to me. I hardly noticed the texture at all. Back on the iMac, I could tell the text just wasn't crisp, looked a little fuzzy at times. But on this, the Nano-texture coating, while it's doing its thing and blocking out those reflections, that's been great. Again, not complaining, but it also makes it look fine. Like, I don't notice that type of, less crispy text and some of it being just a little bit fuzzy in certain areas. Like, I don't notice it at all, honestly. Inside, with no windows or glare, I still feel like the display is bright and vibrant, and again, it's as crisp as it can be. Is it necessary to get a Nano-texture display if you are inside with no windows or glare? No. But I love this option, and I think either way, if you're on the fence, you're thinking maybe I might need it here and there, I think you should just get it. It's worth the $200 upgrade, in my opinion, for most people. Now, on the iMac, I said don't do it. But on this, I think it looks a lot better. My guess is the mini LED display just being brighter and better overall compared to that iMac is what's contributing to that feeling. And it's also just a major bright spot when using these MacBooks. There's not a whole lot of difference between the last mini LED model and this new one here when it comes to the display, aside from it being, again, a bit brighter and, of course, the Nano-texture option. But I do really love using the MacBook Pro because of the display. And it's one of the main reasons why I choose this now over the MacBook Air. That and the port situation. And with these new MacBook Pros, things get a little bit better. In last year's model, the base M4 machine only had 2 Thunderbolt ports to go along with the MagSafe 3.5mm audio, SD card slot, and HDMI. This year, you get all of those ports, but there is a third Thunderbolt port here on the right side. And this was only found on the M3 Pro and M3 Max. So now with the base M4, you get it across the board. You get the 3 Thunderbolt ports, which is nice to have. You can never have too many USB-C/Thunderbolt ports available to you. Now, technically, this model is not quite the base model. And let me clarify here, it comes with 16 gigs of RAM. This has 16 gigs of RAM to start. But the only difference here is that instead of the 512 gig base storage, this one was updated to 1 terabyte. Everything else is the same. And since I don't think that's going to make a big impact, if any, on any daily performance between the two, I feel comfortable in saying that this model is pretty much what the base model will feel like. But I did just want to be transparent about everything. All M4 models will come with the 10-core CPU and 10-core GPU. Again, it starts with 16 gigs of RAM, but you can configure that up to 32 gigs if you think you need more. Now, how has living with 16 gigs been? For me personally, somebody who's usually had around 64, at times 128 gigs of RAM, I honestly haven't really been noticing any issues at all, especially for what I'm using it for. Even with Apple Intelligence and some of the newer features that just came out in macOS Sequoia 15.2, like Image Playground, ChatGPT integration with Siri, all tasks are handled pretty quickly and easily. I have not noticed any issues. Now, I edit content for a living, so again, that's what I'm going to talk about. And I edited a few videos off this machine, and things went really, really well. I've also been using Photomator and Pixelmator Pro apps to do some photo editing for some headshots and photos that I took for a friend's business, and the M4 MacBook handled things perfectly. I can apply all of the things I need to do for each photo. They export super quickly. I can then bring it into Pixelmator and then make more edits if I need to. Very seamless, very quick. No issues. The M4 MacBook Pro also comes in a new color, Space Black, which was available on the other machines, but it's new to the base model. And you can also get silver. Personally, I love the way this looks a lot more, but I've been going with silver lately because this thing is still kind of a fingerprint magnet. We also get a new 12 megapixel FaceTime camera, and I honestly think it looks really, really good. Hopefully the mics sound really good. Would love to hear from you in the comments down below what you think about the picture quality, but also this gives you center stage now on the MacBook Pro. And so if I move over here, or if I move over here, you can see my entire messy studio space. But yeah, I mean, I can kind of move around and it'll follow me. And that's really helpful to have on a MacBook, especially if you're going to be doing a ton of video calls where maybe you might want this feature for yourself. So again, continuing to be transparent, I've taken the M4 Max MacBook Pro that's pretty highly configured on a bunch of trips for work, shot some content, made edits, did a lot of work from home with it on that laptop, and I've tried to do the same over the last few weeks with this M4 MacBook Pro, and both laptops honestly felt exactly the same to me. That's not to say that they're both the same in terms of power and performance. I just think that for what I'm using it for, I really don't think I need a whole lot. I'm just outlining here that my needs for a laptop is probably going to get cut down just a little bit because this machine has done really, really well. And compared to my desktop daily driver in the Mac Studio, that'll be good for some of those really intense projects, but for everything else, I can definitely use this M4 MacBook Pro to do my job on a fairly regular basis. Again, over time, it might not be as quick or efficient, so that's why you get some of those beefed up machines to kind of future-proof yourself in the long run. But if you're someone out there who's looking to get started in graphic design, video editing, music production, writing code, just whatever the case may be, and you're thinking you need one of those crazy machines to get the job started, you don't. You can definitely run everything you need to from this machine, and it will be fantastic for most of you out there. But that's just me. I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below. What do you think about this base model M4? Are you thinking about picking one up? What is really important to you in a laptop? Let me know down in those comments. This is Dan with MacRumors. Thanks so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you around in the next video.